The module asks the DM if the players are struggling, and if you need to suggest they go back for a rest at Phandelver. And my players would most likely just carry on into the Underdark. Why go backwards and forwards, they would say. The rest of the adventure is in the Underdark, so that's where we're going. So they'll either continue into the Underdark and find these maps that way, or they go under the Stonehill Inn and find them that way. It doesn't really matter. I actually have a tavern map, which I'll show you now. Both sides, it's got the roofs on one side and then you can see inside the tavern on the other. This is really useful for Phandelver, to be honest. Well, it's useful all the time for pubs. I got these tiles from the D&D tile sets, and you can make your own Underdark. For today, I've drawn this little map out on the dry erase mat. So the players reach Area 1. They'll spot the blood first, trails into a side passage. Now they may completely ignore that and think, no thank you. And we'll get to what's down there shortly. First, if your players do go back to Phandelver, the obelisk has transformed certain people into mutates. And Wheel of Fortune found goblins under the Sleeping Giant Inn, where he subsequently found tunnels too. Either way, you're going to end up in some tunnels, and you've got 14 hours of in-game time to fill as they march towards Ilithinok. 12 miles of walking, descending 2 miles down. Let's look at what you can include on the way yourself. So we have this tunnel encounters table with gibbering mouthers, intellect devourers, troglodytes, shriekers, but we can twin them, mix and match those monsters with these scenarios. You will probably come up with the same search as I do. You go to Google 100 Underdark encounters and you'll come across this table, which I've taken these from, and which I heavily used in Out of the Abyss, so thank you to that creator. Minecarts and rails, plus a monster from the table perhaps. They're unused, they're rusted, maybe some things in them of importance, maybe not, maybe a useful tool. Carry on further, the next thing they meet, they hear voices, revelry, it's 3 drunken dwarves. You don't have to have a reason why they're there, you just completely improvise. What occurs? They have no useful info, it just fills a bit of time. There are flumphs who have created a mushroom shop, selling mushroom food. The mushrooms do different effects. That's covered in Out of the Abyss if you have that. Or you just make it up. But then like environmental effects, a bridge is out. How are you going to traverse this gap? Maybe it's 20, 30 foot down, so they can take the hit. Or they can shimmy along an edge and it's just a dex check. Maybe if they fall off, it's a dex to also hold on and not take any more damage. Perhaps there's a trail of coins and when you pick them up, they kind of disappear. It's more like an illusion. Just leads you around in a circle or whatever you can think of. There's an old campsite where other adventurers have been and long since left. Mouldy food. Maybe a note with something on it, cryptic. Could be linked to an old game you had. Another adventuring party came through here who your players would recognise. They like that sort of thing. Or be off the wall. People are crazy in the Underdark. Have a guy sat next to a door. This is just a door. Literally just a wooden door propped up against the side of the cavern, and he's waiting to see who comes through it. No one's been in the last few years, but he's sure it's there for a purpose. Give a funny voice, funny attitude, and you've got a quarter of an hour a game until they get to the next section. So ultimately, do your players know if townsfolk are missing? They can hear out that in town, but if they go straight to the Underdark, they'll discover that by going down these 3 suggested maps: the Grell Caves, the Bahia Lair, and the Gibbering Grotto. The blood trail comes down into here. If they go down to J2, they will see a 15 foot wide chasm, 30 foot deep, and sobbing coming from the townsfolk. There is a book down here, a journal from Thorgren Ironquill, the dwarf historian you might have met in the last chapter. The ornate book bears the name Thorgren Ironquill, historian. Only a few pages left usable. It talks about the mind flayer activity beneath the Sword Mountains. Scholars will pay 900 gold for this book. J3's got stalagmites, stalactites all over. There are 4 Grell, and the room is difficult terrain. Rounding J4, there's a dark pool of water, but 3 commoners. Oscar, Cathlet, and we start with the Grell. AC of 12, not too shabby, not too high. 90 health, very slow speed. If it's forced to move along the ground, it can hover 30 feet normal. Immune to lightning, it's already blind, so you can't blind it anymore. It's got blind sight anyway, so shut up. 2 attacks, tentacles +4 for 7 average. Forces a con save, you could be poisoned. Grapples you, escape 15, and will beak you for another 7. We've done it before, that's why I'm skipping. Bahia. Come over Bahia. Huge monstrosity, AC 17. Doing this maths in my head. 256 health I've worked out in my head. Bite +10. Its attacks have +10. 10-foot reach, even at a bite with its long neck. 22 average piercing, then a constrict attack, +10, 17 bludgeoning, +17 slashing, escape from a grapple at 16, and it has a goddamn lightning breath too. 12d10 lightning, as a matter of fact. If it grapples you, bites you, it can swallow you. If you attack from the inside and do 30 damage, I mean you can't miss for a start, 30 damage you get thrown up out. The Grell's Psychic, AC 12, up to 15 if it casts Mage Armor on itself. 108 health, again 10 foot, hovers. The Grell's Psychic has +5 to attack rather than +4. Does an average of 8, not 7. And the tentacle attack will be DC 11 con save. To get out of a grapple, DC 16. But the thing being, it has psionics. So we've mentioned it can put armor on itself, Mage Armor. It's got Mage Hand. Kind of cool. Mage Hand can't attack, but it is invisible as well. Realistically, detect thoughts, sure, why not? That's okay. Confusion and fear, they're not the most exciting of spells, but see what you can do with them. Gibbering Mouthers looks so cool. Only an armor class of 9. 99 health, very slow, can swim, but very slow. Its gibbering attack makes you roll to see what happens. Creature does nothing. The creature takes no action or bonus action, but uses all its movement to move randomly in a determined direction, or it randomly melees. Its bite is +2 with an average of 17 damage. Blinding Spittle spits at you of range attack. Can be blinded by this. The Flesh Meld looks far more interesting. AC 12, 150 health, and it can move 30 feet and climb 30 feet. It has blind sight because it has no eyes. Cannot speak either. It's like an ooze, it can move through 1-inch gaps. Does that mean it could go into behind people's breastplate or down their armour? Aura of Death. If you're near it, you make a DC 15 con save or take 1d6 necrotic damage, and you are poisoned. 2 bite attacks with +8, and the reach is 30 feet on that bite attack. Weird. 2d10 +5 piercing. Grappled and pulled towards the Flesh Meld. A bonus action. Consume creature. If you're grappling, you can bite and swallow. You take stomach acid damage inside. Once again, take 30 damage, it's out. Cloak and Mutate. Large. AC 14, 242 health, again a slow 10-foot speed but can fly 30 feet. Has telepathy, can speak in your mind. Avoidance. If the mutate is subjected to an effect that allows it to half damage, it takes no damage and if it succeeds on that saving throw. Doesn't like to be in bright light, it has disadvantage. Makes 1 corpse swipe attack and 2 tail attacks, or 4 tail attacks. +8 on the melee, 20 average bludgeoning, DC 16 save or you're poisoned. The tail attack is +8, reach of 10 feet, 13 slashing. Imagine that 4 times. Bonus action then, it can choose phantasmal duplicates. It projects illusory copies of itself. While the copies exist, attack rolls against this thing are with disadvantage. Psychic Moan. It lets out a moan of psychic energy, DC 16 wisdom save or 5d6 psychic damage and be frightened. Keatom's Ointment. As an action, 1 dose of the ointment can be swallowed or applied to the skin. It regains 2d8 +2 hit points. Ceases to be poisoned and is cured of any disease. And there's 3 servings you found in this adventure. Careful Mind Crystal. While holding the Mind Crystal, you can modify it so that you basically get automatic saves on saving throws. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in another wonderful video.